Hello everyone and welcome back. This is my first big pattern that I'm putting out. It was inspired by Peppy Debs on Instagram. This pattern is more for an intermediate crocheter. Very important to know the crochet lingo. And if you're new to crochet, make sure to check out my Crochet Basics playlist. Be right here in the top corner. And sit back, grab your crochet hooks, grab your yarn, and let's get into it. You will need some stitch markers, a size 4 crochet hook, scissors, and 2 different colors of yarn. So I'm starting off with a slip knot and then I'm chaining 168 chains plus 1. You can get away with any multiple of 3. I'd say the smallest you can go is like 150, but the world is your oyster, girlfriend. And for the first row, we are just double crocheting in each stitch. Meet me back here when you've completed your first row. Chain 3 and turn your work. To make the trim of the vest, I'm using a sort of ribbing technique. Usually, we would crochet in those top V's of each stitch, but for the front post and back post double crochet, we're going to be using the posts of the stitch right here. So for the back loop double crochet, we're simply going to yarn over, put our hook underneath the post of the stitch. We're going to yarn over again, pull through, and then finish like you would a simple double crochet. For the front post double crochet, we're simply going to yarn over. So you kind of want to insert from the back, and then you just simply put your hook over that post and through the little space next to said post, and you want to just pull through your yarn and again double crochet like usual. For each stitch, you're going to be alternating front post and back post double crochet. Practice this a couple of times. It took me a hot second to really get into this groove. It's a little different than usual. Just a simple double crochet. You're just putting your hook in a different area of the stitch. Okay, so when you're done with the second row, meet me back here and we'll talk about the third row. Chain 3, turn your work, and continue doing the front post, back post, double crochet. The back post double crochet will look like a little bump, and the front post double crochet will look like a little indent, so that's how you know which stitch to use. So row 1 was a double crochet. Row 2, we're doing the front and back post double crochet. Row 3, we're going to continue the front and back post double crochet. And row 4, again, we're going to do one last row of the front and back post double crochet, and that will give us a really nice trim. So we're gonna chain 3, turn our work, and then for the rest of the pattern, we're gonna skip the first stitch and go right into the second stitch. So for all the checkerboard in the vest, I'm using a stitch called back loop double crochet. It's basically a regular double crochet, but instead of sticking your needle through both of those top V's, we're going to be sticking our needle just through the back of the V. I'm gonna make 5 back loop double crochets, and then on the 6th stitch is when I'm going to change colors. So now I'm on my 6th stitch. Yarn over, go through the back loop, yarn over again, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Since we're changing colors, I'm going to make a slip knot, and that will just anchor my pink string of yarn to the piece, and then pulling my pink yarn through my 2 loops of red yarn, and then I've switched colors. Then I'm going to do 5 more back loop double crochets, and then on the 6th stitch I'm going to change colors. So now we're on the 6th stitch. So again, we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then with our red piece of yarn we're going to finish the stitch and yarn over and pull through 2. And then now we have our red piece of yarn, and we're going to continue to crochet. Whatever color we're not using, we're just going to be dragging and pulling it along. For the checkerboard pattern, each square is going to be 6 by 3, 6 stitches wide and 3 rows tall, and keep just back loop double crocheting, doing our little checkerboard pattern till the end of this row. When you're done with your 5th row, you're gonna chain 3, turn your work, skip that first immediate chain and start crocheting into the 2nd chain, and we're basically just going to repeat exactly what we've been doing for the next 2 rows, and then we're going to switch colors again. So once you're on the last stitch of your 3rd row of checkerboard, you want to switch to the next color so that way we can have that alternating checkerboard pattern. So you're basically going to do the same color changing technique. In the last stitch, you are going to double crochet and then finish your last pull through with the red, and then just chain 3 and turn your work and continue like usual. Repeat this until you have 33 more rows of crochet, or if you want to count by the square, we're going to be doing 11 rows of checkerboard squares. However you want to count it, I kind of find it easy to just count by the square at this point. So pause this video and meet me back here once you've got all of your rows of checkerboard done. Okay, here we are. We have successfully completed the body of the vest. Now it is time to start making our armholes and the front panels and back part of our vest. So the first thing I do is place my stitch markers where I want my armholes to be. Count 6 squares in or 36 stitches in and place your first stitch marker, and then the armpit hole should be 12 stitches or 2 squares long. So place your stitch marker at the last stitch of the 2nd square. I like to place my stitch markers on the inside of the squares, not the outside of the squares. And I'm just doing the same exact thing on the other side. So in total, we should have 4 stitch markers. Well, including the trim, we have done 37 rows. Now we are on our 38th row. We're going to be making the front panel of the vest. So chain 3, turn your work, and then crochet your row like normal, but leave 4 stitches. So I will meet you here when you have 4 stitches left in your row. Now that we only have 4 stitches left in our row, we're going to be decreasing, and that's what's going to make a nice circle for our little armpits to go. So we're going to yarn over, put our hook through that stitch, yarn over again, then we're going to pull through 2, then we're going to yarn over, put our hook in the next stitch over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we should have 3 loops of yarn on our hook, okay? We're not done though. We're going to yarn over again, put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we have 4 loops of yarn on our hook. We're going to do that one more time. Yarn over, put your hook through the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we should have 5 loops of yarn on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops of yarn. We are going to chain 2 because that counts as a decrease. Then we're going to skip that first immediate stitch just like we've been doing. We're going to yarn over, put your hook through, yarn over again, pull through 2. But then we're going to do that same decrease technique, and we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through again. And now we should have 3 loops of yarn on our hook. And because we are on the last stitch of a pink square, we now have to switch colors. So instead of pulling through all 3 loops with the pink yarn, we're going to be pulling through all 3 loops with our red yarn. So that way we can continue in the checkerboard pattern. And then just crochet to the end of your 39th row like usual. Again, we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and continue crocheting. Like row 38, we are going to crochet till we have 4 stitches left, and we are going to do that same decrease technique. So you're going to yarn over, put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over again, pull through 2, and now we should have 5 loops of yarn on our hook. Instead of finishing the stitch with the red yarn, we are going to finish it with the pink yarn because it is time to change color with our checkerboard pattern that we've been doing. So we're going to grab our pink yarn and pull through all 5 of our loops with the pink yarn. Again, we're going to chain 2, skip that first stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we should have 2 loops of yarn on our hook. Yarn over again, put your hook in the last chain of our red square, and now we have 3 loops of yarn on our hook. And again, we need to switch colors, so we will be pulling through all 3 of those loops with our red yarn. And then just crochet to the end of the row like regular. And for row 42, we're going to repeat the same pattern as again. We're going to crochet until we have 4 remaining stitches. Then we're going to decrease just like we were doing before. So when we decrease, again, you should have 5 loops of yarn on your hook, and then you're going to pull through with the red yarn. For row 42, you're going to repeat the same decreasing pattern that we've been doing. You're going to chain 2, skip that first stitch, and then decrease in the next 2 stitches. So that way you should have 3 loops of yarn on your hook, and then make sure to pull through with the alternating yarn. So that way we stay in our same checkerboard pattern. So we're done with our decrease rows. Now we are crocheting just like normal for 12 more rows or 4 more rows of the checkerboard square. And you're going to repeat this on the opposite side of the vest. And then right here I'm just showing you how when I start crocheting on the opposite side of the vest, I always make sure to do a slip knot and secure all my yarn on. Kind of similar to how when we first started, how we would put on our extra pieces of yarn with a little slip knot. And here is the timestamp to watch all the decreasing rows again, so that way you can copy it onto your next panel. So meet me back here when you have 2 front panels, and we'll talk about the back. And then of course, once you're finished with your panel, you're just going to chain 1, pull your yarn through and cut it. I'm leaving a little extra bit of yarn so I can use that to seam. So at this point, your vest should look something like this. And now we are going to focus on the back, which is between these 2 stitch markers. So I'm making a slip knot and then just attaching that to my garment. Then I'm chaining 3, and then we are going to go right in and start decreasing. So yarn over, put your hook through the next stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. And now we should have 2 loops on our hook, then yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 3 loops of yarn on our hook. Yarn over, put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 4 loops of yarn around our hook. Then we're going to yarn over, put our hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we have 5 loops on our hook. Again, now we're just going to pull through all 5 of those loops. Then we are going to crochet the rest of the back like normal, except we're going to leave 4 stitches at the end, so that way we can decrease. Okay, so now we are at the end of our row, but we still have 4 more stitches left, and we are going to decrease like we've been decreasing this entire time. And you just want to make sure that when you're decreasing, you have 5 loops of yarn around your hook, and then you can just pull through all 5 loops of yarn, and we can move on to the next row. When you're done, remember to chain 2 and turn your work. So again, skip the first stitch, go right into the next stitch, yarn over, put your hook through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Then the last stitch, yarn over, put your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So we should have 3 loops of yarn on our hook. And then remember to switch colors, so we're going to pull through all 3 loops with our red yarn. And then just crochet like normal, but leave 3 stitches at the end of this row so we can decrease. Put our hook in the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we're going to do that one more time in the last stitch. So then we should have 3 loops of yarn on our hook, But instead of pulling through with our red yarn, we're going to pull through all 3 loops with our pink yarn. Then chain 3 and you can continue crocheting like normal, no more decreases or anything like that. So you will crochet like normal for 16 more rows. So when you're done with your back piece, you should have 6 rows of squares or 18 rows all together. Now it's time to seam the shoulders together. So as you can see, I am just folding over my front panels and lining up the squares together. And then when I finished my panels, I did leave a good bit of yarn to seam with. I prefer using my crochet hook for seams. I think it's a little bit more sturdy. And also tapestry needles are just kind of annoying. It's just so much easier to do with a crochet hook. Tapestry needles are overrated. Unpopular opinion. Anyway, here's how I'm seaming. So I left a lot of extra yarn left over so I could seam. And basically, I just stick my crochet hook through both sides of my seam, my back piece and my front panel, pull up some yarn, and then I just simply do a slip stitch. So I'm just yarning over, pulling through, and then I will just be slip stitching the rest of the way. And I am just putting my hook through the top parts of both of my panels. I just want to make sure that my checkerboards line up and look straight and nice together. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on for this seam here, making sure everything lines up. And at the end of the seam, I'll just chain 1 and pull through the rest of my yarn, and that will get weaved in when we are doing our trim. So now it's time to do the trim on the armholes and the front of our vest. We're going to be using the same trim that we started out this pattern with. I'm simply attaching my yarn to my armhole, then I'm chaining 3, and then I am double crocheting all the way around. I really have no exact stitch count for this, maybe just try and keep it as even as possible, but I'm really just putting my hook wherever I think it looks good. If it's like pulling a little bit too much, or I see a little bit too much of a gap, I'll kind of go back and adjust, or you know, whatever looks good, honestly, at the end of the day is what matters. So that first row will be our double crochet, and then make sure to chain 3 and turn your work. Then we will start our front post and back post double crochet, and we're going to do that for 2 rows. And then we're going to be doing that exact same thing on the other side of our vest as well. And that is exactly how we're going to be doing the trim for the front portion of our vest too. Again, we're going to attach our yarn, chain 3, do 1 row of double crochet, and then 2 rows of our front post, back post double crochet. When you're done, make sure to weave in all of your ends. Thank you so much for watching. If you winded up making this vest, make sure to tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it. And here's the montage of me looking fabulous. Goodbye.